No, I was just on a podcast, which I know we've talked about. I know you love this podcast, Matt. The Whatever podcast.
Oh, yes.
Anyways, but there was two pornographers on it. Well, there were multiple pornographers on it, but two of them were a married couple. They say they're married. They create pornography together. They say they like doing it, and they say they make a bunch of money. So in their mind, it's good for me. Then you have the user of the pornography. Let's say they're not married, like you said in that scenario, and they, like using the pornography, and they're saying it's good for me. In their world, it's not hurting anybody for those people involved in the act. So why is it from a non-religious standpoint, if we can say that, why would it be wrong?
Well, I think there's, again, a whole host of reasons, but I think just because somebody says that something makes them happy, it doesn't mean we should believe them. So shame on that married couple who are engaging in such shameful behavior, and shame on him for exposing his beautiful wife's body to the eyes and to the lust of other men. I think that's a despicable thing that a husband would do for his wife, and vice versa. I was giving a talk in Baltimore, and there was a Sheila there who was a
Sheila?
A woman who was a porn... That's just an Australian thing. Sorry, bloke and Sheila. I say Sheila and people think that that's a demeaning term. It really isn't. It's just like saying a fella.
Lady.
Yeah, Sheila is a lady. Anyway, she got up and she said that she's a sex worker, quote unquote, and she said it makes her very happy. And I said, you're wrong to be happy. Like, sex should not be treated like this. If we want things to flourish, we should use them in accord with their nature, which is the basic gist of the natural law. Don't take tomato plants, put them in a closet, and feed them with Coca-Cola and expect them to flourish.
That's such an interesting point you just made, because one of the questions I was going to ask you, as the Pints with Aquinas king, and Aquinas is one of the big positors of the natural law, this theory of natural law. What is natural law theory?
I would sum it up by just saying that if you want something to flourish, use it in accord with its nature. So to use the example, I would say don't take tomato plants, put them in a closet and feed them with Pepsi and expect them to flourish, because it wouldn't. Likewise, don't strip sex away from its obvious relational context and expect it to flourish. It won't. Something like that. So like when you look at the sexual act and you say, what is this for? It seems to me that there's at least two. There's an obvious end, and then there seems to be a secondary end, purpose. Obviously, it's the procreation of the species. Like that's where people have sex. That's what it is for. And then I would also say it's for the good of the two coming together. There's some obvious comfort that the two are giving each other in the sexual act. If you remove one of those ends, you've perverted it. That's right. By perversion, I mean you've thwarted the end. So if I pierce my ear, I haven't mutilated myself. But if I pierce my eardrum on purpose such that I can't hear, I've mutilated my body because I've gone against the nature of the ear. Right? And so I think if you take like the procreative and the unitive aspects of sex and you strip one of them away, so you take the procreative out, what would that be? That'd be like IVF. So I think that's evil, because I think you've perverted the sexual act.
So you're saying IVF would be evil, because in that case you're creating the child without the love of the parents in the act of sex. It's being created in a test tube, which is not natural.
So there's something that ought to be there that isn't. That's what we mean by evil, right? It shouldn't be that way.
So in the natural law theory, evil is defined as a lack of the good.